Hello, I'm Colin Sanders and this is the History Books Review. This episode reaches Chapter 32, Part 3 of my extended review of Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire and covers the career of St. John Chrysostom. One of the main factors in the decline of influence of Christianity in the West over the last 600 years has been the wide diffusion of the Bible in local languages. When the Bible was in Latin, only the educated elite could read it, so it was easy to maintain a mystique about it. Creating a text in a language that everyone can read and making it widely available has done a great deal to undermine its credibility. It really doesn't take too much reading to find inconsistencies and contradictions. And in fact, this is something that people have been picking up on since the early days of the religion. The original language of the Bible was Greek, so in the eastern half of the Roman Empire there never was a barrier to understanding it, so criticism was easy. People have been criticising the Bible from as soon as it became widespread, and Christians have been coming up with defences of it for nearly as long. One of the neatest counter-arguments to the deficiencies of the Holy Book was first deployed by St. John Chrysostom. Yes, there are inconsistencies, but that proves that it's genuine, because if it had been entirely made up, it would have been perfect. The slips and errors are what you'd expect from a genuine document written by a large group of fallible people. Well, I suppose it's an argument. Chrysostom had just the right kind of background to come up with that sort of thing. He had been trained by the famous sophist of Antioch, Libanius. Libanius had recognised the skill of his student and lamented that his conversion to Christianity robbed him of a successor. Switching from paganism to Christianity was certainly a good career move. It's hard to tell whether it was sincere, but it certainly wasn't half-hearted. He put in several years in austerity in the desert before returning to civilization because of poor health. You know, this is the kind of poor health that is best cured by taking a top job in the church. As it happened, he got himself into the right place at the right time. A big opportunity was about to turn up. The post of Archbishop of Constantinople had just fallen vacant. There were bribes flowing around all over the place to fill the prestigious and lucrative role, but in an uncharacteristic display of public spirit, the normally venal and corrupt Chamberlain Eutropius appointed the best man for the job instead of the most profitable. Chrysostom took the approach pioneered by Gregory of Nazianzus of making charity a central feature of Christian practice, and as the foremost prelate in the empire, he was in a position to do a lot of charitable works. He diverted large portions of the church revenues into help for the unfortunate. This was bound to make him popular with the recipients, but he also had considerable skill as an orator, helped no doubt by his training in the hands of the artful Libanius. Chrysostom means golden mouth, so his skills were recognised in the nickname by which we still know him. Thousands of his sermons have survived. One of them, the Paschal Homily, is still used in Orthodox services. If the translation does it justice, it's a very lyrical piece of writing and gives a very positive interpretation of Christianity that emphasises forgiveness and taking joy in it. Christianity is a harsh and judgmental religion, basically, but I think the influence of Chrysostom has had the effect of softening it and mellowing it somewhat. The services of John himself were so popular that they rivaled the theatre. The flip side of forgiveness, of course, is that you need to have some sins to be forgiven in the first place. John was keen on pointing out the failings of fallen human beings that were in need of being forgiven. This may well have been one of the reasons why his sermons are so popular. Everyone likes to hear about other people's shortcomings. The shortcomings of the rich and powerful are particularly appealing to the broke and impotent. God is above all, and his power and majesty are such as to mock the pretensions and the arrogance of the powerful. All are equal in heaven. However, John wasn't in heaven, he was in Constantinople, and in Constantinople it was very unwise to criticise the empress, the influential power behind the throne. So when he did it, trouble duly followed. But it is easy to see why his sermons were so popular. Who wouldn't have wanted to be in the audience for that one? Specifically, he criticised her extravagant clothing. Criticising a woman's dress is rarely a way to get on the right side of her. John was immediately exiled. The departure of the popular preacher led to riots, and the Emperor Arcadius rapidly recalled him, but he had the gnawed bone now, and he couldn't drop it. He was soon comparing Eudoxia to Herodias, the wife of Herod, who put her daughter up to dancing for the head of John the Baptist. Strangely, Gibbon neglects to mention the exact provocation for this second crack at the First Lady. It was in response to a silver statue of her being erected near his cathedral. But whatever, he was exiled again, and this time it was permanent. He was sent first to Caucasus, near the modern border of Syria and Turkey. He carried on a correspondence by post with his supporters in Constantinople, which led to him being sent further away to modern-day Georgia, but he died on the journey. Chrysostom was soon made a saint, and he had many attractive qualities, but he was a human too. He contested areas of authority with a fellow bishop from Alexandria, showing that he wasn't above a turf war for influence. In exile, he supported the destruction of pagan temples, showing that while he might be a sympathetic man, he was far from a tolerant one. The story that he destroyed the Temple of Diana at Ephesus is a controversial one. For me, I think I'm convinced that he didn't, mainly because he himself would no doubt have written an account of it if he had, and would probably have been quite pleased to have done it. But despite this, his influence has largely been positive and has helped to make Christianity not quite as bad as it might have been. Needless to say, once he was safely dead, the emperors found it expedient to praise his memory and align themselves with his tradition. This was the way the Byzantine Empire worked. The Church supported the empire and helped the poor, cementing them together to form a sort of spiritual equality to make up for the actual imbalance in wealth and power. Next time, we'll look at the reign of Theodosius II, who didn't quite live up to the standards set by his namesake and grandfather, the great Theodosius I. I greatly appreciate any comments you'd like to share in all the usual places. And in the meantime, thanks for listening.